Hey, what's up, everyone? This is DJ Soto from Virtual Reality Church, and this video is for our church family, or anyone really. You don't have to attend VR Church. You've been asking for a highlight or a recap of the sermon from the previous Sunday, so I just wanted to give you some highlights of what we've been talking about at Virtual Reality Church. The title of this past Sunday was Haters, Trolls, and Arrogant Religion Part 2. Part 3 is coming up. And oh man, we're right in the middle of this contentious encounter with Jesus and arrogant religion. It was Jesus on one side, and there were arrogant religious leaders on the other side. Jesus had healed a man who was injured for almost 40 years, and the arrogant religious people didn't like that. You'd think there'd be balloons and confetti and a celebration, but they had a rule that you can't work on the Sabbath, and Jesus broke the rule. And they weren't happy about that. They wanted to kill him. And so Jesus was like, listen, I'm going to do even greater works than these, and you are going to be astonished. And I love that because it just shows that what God wants to do in our life is going to be greater than we can even imagine. So we're just going to hop right into the middle because Jesus is not done. He keeps going and he says this, "For just as the Father gives life to those he raises from the dead, so the Son gives life to anyone he wants." I love that because Jesus is saying, listen, you think that God and faith and religion is only through your group, your little tribe, your little religious construct. No, I'm going to give life to anyone I want to. Anyone who does not honor the Son is certainly not honoring the Father who sent him. And that is amazing. He is telling these religious people that they do not honor God. And I think that's important because not everyone who claims to be a church or a religious leader are following the love that God has for the world. They will never be condemned for their sins, but they have already passed from death into life. God has a passion to see people come alive. In that he's not interested in these rules and regulations or requirements. He is passionate about bringing life to this world, to anyone he wants. And so Jesus was probably like looking at their faces, and he probably saw something like this, like these angry scowls that were happening. Because look what happens in the next verse. Jesus says, "Don't be surprised." Man, their faces must have been angry, upset, jealous. Jesus says, "Don't be surprised. Indeed, the time is coming when all the dead in their graves will hear the voice of God's Son and they will rise again." Listen, guys, don't be surprised. God's going to give life and light to the world. He's going to give it to anyone he wants to. It's not going to be through your system or your construct or your tribe. It's going to be through Jesus Christ who loves the world. Well, we had a discussion at Virtual Reality Church near the end of the sermon. We asked people this question. We said, have you had an encounter with arrogant religion? And oh man, let me be honest with you. The stories were difficult to hear. It was cringeworthy. It wasn't just like, they had a bad, experience. The music was too loud. They felt judged walking in. No, it was way worse than that. And it was multiple story from multiple people. And one of them was my friend Brian would just get out of rehab and he was trying to go into a church and he looked a little bit homeless and the security wouldn't let him in and the security drove him away. My friend Ashley, she was injured as a child in a car accident and she's now in a wheelchair. And religious people told her that she's in a wheelchair because she doesn't have enough faith. And it was story after story. It was difficult to hear. And I didn't even plan this. At the end of the service, I was like, hey, listen, I want to apologize to you that I've been hurt by a church or a religious leader or a denomination because it's not the heart of Jesus Christ. And as a matter of fact, I invited one of my friends who is an atheist and agnostic. She's a celebrity in virtual reality, and she came to VR Church to tell her story. And we're going to go listen to her story right now. So Vivian, just tell us a little bit about that story, about what you went through, the experiences that you had, and why it turned you off to religion.
Yeah, well, I'll say that it wasn't an abrupt thing. Sometimes it's not like you have to have some big experience to make you question things. Sometimes it could be something small, and that's what happened with me. Well, first of all, I was a devout Catholic. And by that, I mean, I went to confession every week. Even if I had nothing to confess so that I could, receive the Eucharist. And I was at church all the time, even during the weekdays. I was very close with the people that I, end up spending a lot of time with them, people from the church. One day, I was just hanging out with everyone, and on the other side of the room, they were remarking on somebody who went to church. They're like, "Oh, look at her and look at what she's, wearing," or just kind of like, not like making a big deal of it, just like commentary on like this woman's looks. But the thing is that I'm Catholic, so our Pope John Paul II, he kind of changed things around with the church and said, come as you are. And that has to do with, how people get dressed up in their Sunday best and go to church dressed up. But he was saying that come as you are, like this is something that's a regular thing that you do. So that's what I was thinking, because sometimes I wear like a short skirt, and not for any other reason other than I am short and that's what looks good on me, so and so that kind of just like kind of got me thinking, because just because I wear a short skirt doesn't mean I'm any less devout or a good person. And that kind of got me thinking, like, why are we being so hypocritical about something so minor that I just find so incredibly mean-spirited. It's something small, but a lot of things stem from small things, interactions. Because if we were going to just remark on some random person, how she was dressed, how are we going to, I guess, bring her to church and make her feel welcome? So I didn't like instantly go, okay, I'm done. There is this gentleman, I think his name is Matt or something. He is called the Bible Geek, specifically Catholic. And he kind of talks directly to teens. There's a really big movement to get teens involved, like the youth. And he posted something on Facebook. This was like maybe 10 years ago or so. He posted something about the way his wife dressed, and saying like, I love that my wife dresses modestly, and she's a really good example of modesty and a good Christian kind of thing. And I just thought that was interesting, because it was like, at once I'm sure he felt like I'm complimenting my wife, and I'm also talking about our faith. But to me, I was like, it was so, as you say, arrogant and self-congratulatory, and I commented, but not to be mean. I commented in order for them to feel what I was feeling. And I said, the same thing I just said, that John Paul II, he says, come as you are. So even if someone is dressed in a short skirt or not modestly, it does not take away from the fact that they are a child of God, or a person that may need something that we can provide. And everyone in that group bashed me. They were like, no, you're supposed to dress like this, blah, blah, blah. And then I kept saying, like, but why are you against someone for dressing a certain way, And a lot of people attacked me. They even said things like, oh, she just doesn't get it. She doesn't get it, people. And I was really hurt by that. Like, I am a good Catholic. I do all the things, that you do, right? And I just felt like I was just posting something on a group that I followed with them, and suddenly I didn't matter because I had a different point of view.
Wow.
And that really, really got me thinking that if I can't have my own point of view, then I am not living.
VR Church family, I know that was a bit of a heavy sermon. I know that was kind of serious and somber, but we want to encourage you in your faith, because you might have faced some arrogant religion in your life, but Jesus wants to bring life into your world. He wants to bring light into your darkness, and he loves you very much.